Before I start, I wanted to give a warning to some who could be affected or triggered from this information. I will be talking about suicide in young adults. Okay, things happen every day. People get married, people buy a new car, graduate school, and have kids. Some, unfortunately, never grow up to do those things because they've taken their own life at such a young age. Now more than ever, the problem of suicide in young teens have been more relevant than in the past couple decades. This problem affects people of all ages, but the issue is mainly in young adults and teenagers. This is relevant because this problem is becoming larger as time goes by, and younger kids are being exposed to social media, and bullying is becoming more relevant. With my experience researching this problem, as well as having close family and friends struggle through this, I feel like I am qualified to tell you more about this problem. In this time, we will look into what exactly the problem is, the causes of the problem, and some potential solutions. First, let's talk about what exactly the problem is through an in-depth look. First of all, young adults are suffering from suicide issues at a younger age. Suicide can be defined as death caused by self-directed behavior with intent to die as a result of the behavior. A suicide attempt is a non-fatal, self-directed, potentially injurious behavior with an intent to die. A suicide attempt may not always result in injury. And finally, suicidal ideation refers to the thinking about considering or planning suicide. According to the data collected by the CDC, updated as of 2017, in the range of 10 to 24 years old, suicide ranks second on leading cause of death in the United States. According to an article by NewsRx, updated in 2015, they have discovered that a problem also lies in the local functional connectivity being altered in multiple regions of the cerebral cortex, limbic system, and cerebellum of young adults. Another problem is that suicide in young adults are happening more frequently. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, they have discovered that in a 16-year period from 2001, suicide rates have gone up almost 31%. As we can see in this graph, the y-axis represents the suicide rate per 100,000, and the x-axis represents the year starting from 2001 all the way to 2017. In 2001, we saw that per 100,000, 18.2 males committed suicide compared to 2017's 22.4. And in females, we see that that's also gone up 4, and in the total population, it's gone up 2. Also, according to the same source, in the last 16 years, males have seemed to be affected by suicide and suicidal thoughts 4 times as much as women are. Now that we've looked into the problem, let's look at the causes of suicide in young adults. One of the causes would be bullying at a young age. According to Kids in the House, an organization devoted to talking about problems and solutions affecting the youth of America, experts say that at least half of the youth suicides are as a result of bullying, including cyberbullying. Kids in the House interviewed children from the Los Angeles area to learn the personal effects of bullying to create a #EndBullying PSA. The PSA sheds light on the fact that words can kill both in person and online. Another cause of this problem is conforming to the expectations of societal norms. According to Philip Shannon, writer at the New York Times, he writes, "If psychiatrists and psychologists agree at all, it is on the fact that young men here whose suicide rate is 6 times as high as that for young women are trying to conform to the exaggerated standards of masculinity that many cannot hope to meet. Of course, the same can be said for women, where body image issues also leads to doubts in mental health." After looking into some of the reasons that can cause suicide in young adults, let's explore some potential solutions. One potential solution would be to promote therapy. According to researchers at the American Behavioral Scientist, updated in 2003, the main goals of the early phase of treatment are to engage the patient in treatment, have the patient tell their story about the suicide attempt, assess the patient for risk in suicidal behavior, develop a safety plan for suicidal emergencies, Orient the patient to a cognitive model. Begin to develop a cognitive conceptualization of the suicide attempt. Begin to develop a problem list and goals for therapy. And finally, convey a sense of hope to the patient. Of course, this is not all of the aspects of therapy, but this is just the beginning. Therapy can take a long time, but can ultimately be very beneficial to the patient. Therapy is also a great way to tell if the patient is thinking of harming or determining if the patient is back to square one with their therapy. Another solution to this problem would be to reduce the amount of items for self-harm. In this slide, we can see that as of 2016, this is when this data was researched. Courtesy of the CDC, we can see that the total number of deaths via suicide was 44,965. And almost half of those deaths were because of firearms. 11,642 were because of suffocation, and 6,698 were poisoning, and 3,662 were via other methods. According to Paul Cullen, a writer at the Irish Times, among the means for restricting access to suicide outlined are the construction of the barriers at jump sites, limiting access to firearms, detoxifying gas in homes, limiting access to pesticides, which could be ingested, and charcoal used for carbon monoxide poisoning, and restricting the scale of barbiturates and painkillers. Even though suicide has become more of a problem today, we are still able to find ways to solve this problem. Today we talked about suicide in young adults, some causes of the problem, as well as some solutions for them. Whenever you think about this problem, always consider that this problem could happen to anyone and could be your loved one that could be in danger. Remember to always lend a hand out to those in need, and surely they will be thankful.